morning, Year 8. Hope you're well. I am currently recording on my school laptop. I'm in school today, so if the volume is a little bit different, then that's why. Okay. Today we're going to be looking at The Kraken by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Okay, so your engager is to read the poem The Kraken by Alfred Lord Tennyson on page 6 of your booklets, and to, as usual, annotate for language and structure devices. Okay, we should be familiar with what those are by now. So have a look through, have a read through. If it helps you to read out loud or under your breath, then do that. Just pause a minute, pause the video, and you've got 10 minutes, and we'll meet back here then. Okay, 10 minutes annotating for language and structure of The Kraken on page 6. Okay, so The Kraken by Alfred Lord Tennyson. As we did yesterday, I will read through The Kraken to see if you can find anything more and just gets my head in the game as well. You'll notice that on the screen now we have got some words that are in bold and some words that are underlined. Okay, some of the words that are in bold might be words that you've not heard before. Okay, some of the language in this poem is quite tricky, okay, which might have put you off. Okay, but if you come across a poem that some of the words you don't understand, sometimes you can work out what they might mean by reading the rest of the sentence. Okay, so I'm going to read it through. If you come across something that's underlined, just think about what language and structure techniques they might be using. Okay. Below the thunders of the upper deep, far, far beneath in the abysmal sea, his ancient, dreamless, uninvaded sleep, the Kraken sleepeth, faintest sunlights flee. About his shadowy sides above him swell huge sponges of millennial growth and height, and far away into the sickly light, from many a wondrous grot and secret cell unnumbered, an enormous polypi, winnow with giant arms the slumbering green. There hath he lain for ages and will lie, in roaring he shall rise and on the surface die, battening upon huge sea worms in his sleep, until the latter fire shall heat the deep. Then once by man and angels to be seen, in roaring he shall rise and on the surface die. Okay, so let's start off from the top. Hopefully, one of the first things that you picked up on was the repetition of far, far beneath. Okay, so we've got repetition, which is structure. What does abysmal mean? Okay, if I say to you, that's abysmal work, okay, you might think one thing, but if we have a look at that sentence, far, far beneath in the abysmal sea, what might that mean there? Okay, have a think about it. Okay, so abysmal can mean very, very bad. Okay, that work's abysmal, it's rubbish. Okay, but it can also mean really, really deep, and that's the case in this. So an abyss is a really deep crevice or fissure in the world or the earth. If you fall into an abyss, okay, so abysmal in this case means really, really deep. Okay, his ancient, dreamless, uninvaded sleep. What have we got there? 3. Okay, the Kraken sleepeth, faintest sunlight's flee. So sleepeth is old language. Can anybody remember what it is called when we use old language in a poem? Begins with an A. Okay. It's archaic language. Archaic just means old. Okay, so sleepeth, thee, thou, thy, they're all examples of archaic language. That word in the middle, grot, is also archaic language, and there's a couple more throughout the poem, but I'll come back to that in a second. Okay. got lots of personification in this poem. We've got sunlight's flee, sickly light, slumbering green. Okay, so sunlight can't run away, light can't be sick, green can't sleep. Okay, so lots of personification. And if you look at the structure of that, we've got a line here, then two, another line, then two, and then a final line. Okay, so in terms of structure, you could perhaps make a comment about that in your essay. Okay, we've got sibilants here, the shadowy sides above him swell, just in case you didn't pick up on that one. What does millennial mean? Okay, huge sponges of millennial growth and height. So you might have an idea about what a millennial is or what millennial might mean, but does it make sense in this sentence? And therefore, what can you sort of infer it might mean if you don't know? Okay, so millennial can mean that you are born in the 21st century. You are all millennials. Okay, I'm a millennial. Okay, or it can mean a period of 1,000 years, which is the case in this poem. Huge sponges of millennial growth and height. So it means that the tentacles of this kraken, this creature, are thousands of years old. Okay, so we've got this kraken, this creature that you saw a picture of before, that is sleeping underneath the earth, and it has grown so huge and massive over thousands and thousands of years. It's ancient, which is perhaps why we've got some archaic language in this poem. Okay. Grot just means a grotto or a cave underneath the sea, which is where the kraken is sleeping. Polypy, okay, it means abnormal growth of tissues or suckers. Okay, so a kraken is like a massive octopus or what are they called? Squid. Okay, with suckers and polypi all along its limbs, its arms, its tentacles. Okay. Okay, winnow. Winnow is a very strange and old word. Winnow just means to move sort of seductively in the current. So imagine you are lying in the sea and you can feel your hair sort of billowing behind you. Okay, so you might say that the hair is winnowing in the water. It just means sort of moving gently in the current. Okay. What kind of rhyme scheme does this poem have? Have a look. Deep, sea, sleep, flee, swell, height, light, cell, polypi, green, lie, die. Okay, what kind of rhyme scheme does it have? Is it regular? Is it irregular? Rhyme couplets? Alternate rhyme? Okay. Irregular rhyme scheme. There are some couplets and there are some alternate rhyme. Some people have said that this is an irregular sonnet. Okay, you don't really have to remember that. If you can remember and you can identify that it's irregular because it's not consistent all the way through, and it has some couplets and some alternate rhyme, then you'll be absolutely golden. Okay, you've got more than enough to talk about there. Okay. To feed well on is battening. Okay, some of these words I had to look up myself. So battening, I thought meant like shutting down or locking out, because you say, you know, I'm battening down the hatches when it's storming outside. But in this case, it means to feed well on, to grow fat at the expense of other people. Okay, so essentially this kraken has been feeding off all of the sea creatures, which means that there's nothing left for the other animals. Okay, so it's grown huge and fat because it's so old and so greedy. Okay, and then we've got this refrain at the very end: in roaring he shall rise, and on the surface die, and then that is repeated in the very last line as well. Okay, a refrain just means a repeated phrase. Okay, there is a change of tone here, which is kind of somber. Okay, so at first we're sort of wowed by this almighty Kraken, and it's described and it's sleeping and it's quite serene, but then it becomes quite somber because we realise that the Kraken is old and it's kind of got this semantic field of being sick and death, and it's coming to the end of its life. Okay, so we've got this semantic field of illness and sleeping and death. Okay. Okay, just a minute then to make sure you've got all of this language and structure down. Again, like I said before, in terms of form, you could talk about the fact that this is an irregular sonnet if you wanted to. Okay, but it's not no, of the utmost importance in this instance. Okay. All right, hopefully we have got all of that down. Oops. My computer seems to be, 1 second, let me get it myself. There we go. So hopefully you've got all of those annotations down. If you now turn to page 7 and 8 of your booklet, I would like you to fill out the next column under the Kraken. Okay, so yesterday we had my dragon, which was filled out in the first column. People just coming back from breakfast. Hang on a moment. Okay, so the first column was my dragon, and the second column is going to be the Kraken. Okay, same questions as before. We should be quite familiar with these now. For those that have been handing in and requesting feedback, should be quite familiar with how much detail is needed. Okay, please remember to write in full sentences because it will really help you later. Okay, and once you've done that, we'll meet back there in about 20 minutes time. Okay, thank you very much, Year 8. That is all that we are doing today. Again, I've got my email at the bottom there if you need anything. Similar to yesterday, feel free to hand in your work if you'd like some feedback, if you'd just like a little bit of a confidence about what you've been writing. This is a more tricky poem than we have looked at over the past 5 lessons or so. So, if you are struggling, then that's normal and that's absolutely fine, okay? Some tricky language in there, some tricky words. Your dictionary is your friend at this point, so make sure you're using that. You can use Google if you want to, and of course, I'm just at the other end of the emails, okay? So if you want to contact me, please feel free. It's been lovely to hear from some of you. All right, Year 8, I will see you very soon. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Okay, bye.